Hey people, D-Man here, and today I am making a video on the new Netflix original series, Cursed. So this is a live action series. It's a 10 episode run. And the premise, without spoiling it, is basically King Arthur-ish style thing where there's magical creatures and there's church goers, just religious people that are crazy and want to murder them all. Um, and then of course there's backstory and stuff. It's interesting. So I'm gonna do spoiler free then spoiler. So spoiler free, I'm gonna do it really quick. The plot line, a little bit predictable on certain points. Some of the stuff doesn't really make sense on certain things. But all in all, pretty okay, It's pretty okay. It's pretty good. I would suggest watching it if you like old-timey night stuff, I guess. It's pretty okay. It's nothing super duper special, but it's pretty okay. Um, so that's spoiler free. I'm gonna say pretty okay. Nothing special, but watchable, and I enjoyed it. And I'll probably watch season 2 if there is a season 2 because it kind of hinted towards that. Okay, so spoiler section. So basically, this story is about King Arthur and like basically bigotry against fae people, which are magical creatures. Because a church thinks they're all demons. And there's the magical Excalibur, but they don't call it Excalibur. They call it the first king's sword or the demon tooth sword or something like that. So they call it a bunch of different names, but they never call it Excalibur. Um, they obviously have Arthur in there and Morgana, but they're not like royalty, because usually they're like, I think they have Arthur Pendragon, I think, or something. Not Arthur Pendragon, but something Pendragon. He is, I think he's usually their father, if I'm not mistaken, in most stories, because they're brother and sister, and Morgana always turns out to be super evil. But in this one, she's good, and I've seen a couple of ones where she's good, but then she turns evil, so I'm assuming that's going to happen down the road, just because of experience with prior media with her in it. Arthur is there, but he's not a king or anything. And as a matter of fact, the girl keeps the sword. The Willow girl, I think her name is Willow Girl or something like that. Yeah. She keeps the sword. And she basically becomes the king of the Fae. The Fae people? Yeah, Fae or something like that. Yeah, but she becomes the queen of them all. She does some rash and stupid decisions, which leads her into some stupid stuff. And at the end, there's like there's 5 parties at the end. There's the holy knights that are trying to kill all the people because they think they're all demons, because religious people are just like that sometimes. Humanity in general is just like that, because the Fae and the humans do not get along and they stay separated, which is kind of stupid. And this probably wouldn't have happened if back in the dawn of humanity, the dawn of Fae humanity, I don't know what the hell you call them, the dawn of Fae, the dawn of humanity. If they were just to integrate back then, it probably would have worked out better. But whatever. But then again, I think it'd work out a little bit better. But then again, thinking back on history, there'd still be incidents like this, I'd think. And the Fae people aren't that innocent either, by the way, because there was flashbacks of them, and plus there's a one moment with just a guy just beating a human to death, and flashbacks of them just killing a bunch of humans. So they're not super innocent either. Because anything with a level of intelligence of a human or higher has the possibility of being really fucked up and evil. Um, you can't really say that about like animals and stuff because they don't have that high of an intelligence. Although some animals do play with their food, so but I don't know if they would call it evil. But yeah, like the whole thing's messed up and fucked up because they're trying to hunt down this one race, trying to kill it, uh, pretty much succeeding in it. But then you look back in time, and that same race that they're hunting down now did basically the same thing to them, and it's you know it's a back and forth. It's just a story as old as humanity. One human fucks over everybody, the other humans fuck over everybody else. But instead of humans, it's humans in phase. And also humans fighting humans in phase. It's not really fighting each other, but somewhat fighting each other. There was like one moment in there where there was a consequence, but yeah. But yeah, this whole story was interesting. Kind of tellable though, because you could totally tell Merlin was her father at like a certain point. You can totally tell that Merlin was her father. There was a character death that was supposed to mean something that didn't mean anything because we only got to spend like there's a couple episodes with him in that were only like a few seconds or so, or a few minutes. And then there was other episodes where like you got to spend some more time with him, but it was literally only like a few minutes. So when he dies, it's just like, oh, it's so sad this guy died. But it's just like, no, not really. We didn't really know that guy. It's kind of stupid. It was like one of the Grand Elders. He dies in the very last episode. As I already said, there's like 4 or 5 factions. There's the King's faction, the Uther Pendragon or something like that. Yeah, I think it's something like that, right? The Heavenly Knights, the Knights for God and stuff. Then there's the other king faction that thinks he's the rightful owner to the throne of Arthur Pendragon. Not Arthur Pendragon, I mean Uther Pendragon or something like that. And then there's obviously the Fays. The Fey people are there. And then there's a kind of pirate Viking faction that are a separation from the other faction that wants to dethrone Uther Pendragon. They're kind of a part of that faction, but separated because they got betrayed by that faction, I guess. So it's pretty interesting. But yeah, all in all, pretty fun show. There was Merlin in there, and at the end he turned into a badass. At one point he kind of almost dies. It's pretty interesting. Yeah, just interesting in general. And I'm assuming in the next season or the next few seasons we're going to see some things. Like, we saw Arthur handle the sword, which, by the way, in this show is supposed to be like the King of King's sword. So whoever wielded it is the king of all people and all things. It doesn't make any sense because the sword doesn't actually do that. It doesn't make people follow you or anything like that. It just kind of gives you extra power and makes you go insane if you can't wield it properly. So yeah, the sword is kind of just a really strong sword that is okay, I guess, but someone could still kill you even if you had the sword. So it just doesn't make much sense that everybody's after this one sword because of a stupid legend. The girl, she's also there. She's also being hunted down. She's the new Witch of Wolves, or the Wolf Witch, the Blood Wolf Witch, or something like that. Really long and stupid name, kind of. The story, it's all about her trying to take the sword to Merlin, and then at the end trying to save her people after she meets Merlin, and finds out he's her daddy, which she kind of already figured out by that point. But it's interesting. And then at the end, she supposedly dies, quote unquote dies. I'm saying quote unquote because you never see the body well, you kind of see the body at the end, but you never actually see what happens to it. And every time in media, if you don't see what happens to the body, unless it's live, unless it's like reality, in fiction, you know that there's a 50% chance that that person's still alive. And that's along with the Green Knight as well, because the last time we saw him, he was kind of dead, we think. But then he got covered with grass, and we don't know exactly what happened to him, so he could be alive as well. And then, of course, we have Merlin and Morgana working together, and Morgana's like, was human at first, but now she's like death, I guess. Or death incarnate. It's kind of weird. And it all happens like in the last episode, really fast and kind of dumb. Doesn't really explain anything. Again, sequel bait. But Merlin turns into a really badass because the whole series, he doesn't have his powers except for flashbacks. But now that he has his sword back, because he made that sword and shoved it inside him at one point, and then he has his sword back, which makes him super duper powerful because he's goddamn old Merlin, obviously. There's a little girl that is one of the Holy Knights now because she supposedly killed the demon, the Wolf Witch. So she's one of the Holy Knights, and that was one of her top priorities. And then there's this little boy who ends up saving the enemies. Like, there's this little boy who's a fae, and he ends up saving the enemies, one of the enemies' guys, because he also turns out to be a fae, and he turns against them at the end, and he wants to be like a knight and stuff, so it's pretty interesting. So, we have and also we have the other plot line where we have a few more plot lines. We have the other plot line where they're trying to get onto these boats, and then they were saved by these Viking type people, and some of them are dead, some of them are alive, and we don't know what's going to happen to that, but we don't know if they're going to leave or stay or what have you, but that's a plot line right there. And then of course we have the plot line with the Viking type people that want to fight or kill the other Viking type people, which is interesting. And then of course we still have the holy priesthood that's trying to kill the Fae still, including Merlin and all those people. So it's pretty interesting. And then Uther Pendragon is still there, I guess. I don't know what he's doing so far, but he's doing something, I guess. So yeah, we have a couple plot points that are just kind of left unsaid, and some deaths that were just like, is that really a death? So yeah, all in all, interesting show. I enjoyed it quite a bit, actually. I would suggest watching it, because I enjoyed it. If you enjoyed what I enjoy, if you watch my other reviews, then you'll probably enjoy this too. It's just some good time wasting. And some interesting stuff, even though it was kind of predictable. And some dumb stuff in there that could have been avoided, but, you know, it's fiction, guys, it's fiction. And plus, yeah, some of that stuff probably would have happened in reality, because human beings and things that are intelligent as us, supposedly, are kind of stupid and do stupid things. Because the more intelligence you get, the more knowledge you get, and the more stupid you can get. I guess animals, too, can do that, because sometimes they have, like, brain problems, or... Yeah, but it's not really their fault,
baby,
you know.
I love you so much.
But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, and share. Hit that bell notification. Link down below to my Twitter. And as always, friends, stay sane. Peace.
Shadow, look here, buddy. Look over here.